Now, Storm Tracker 9 weather with meteorologist Cameron Landfield.
Good morning, Western Oregon. Happy Thursday. Of course, we're dealing with fog yet again, but I said this earlier, if you're sick of that, it's going to be moving out of here pretty soon. We might even see that break up this afternoon and give us a little bit of sunshine. So I'm going to give you 3 or 4 different images in a row here that all connect together to tell the story of what's going on for today. Take a look first off at our current weather pattern. I'm going to point out a couple of different features here. Out over the water, this big blue area. Now that is cold air and low pressure dipping on in. It's pretty far off the coast right now, so we're not really seeing that effect currently. But look at the shape of this bump right here. Now that's a ridge, and we know ridges have higher pressure under them, and high pressure, of course, that makes things a little bit more stable in the atmosphere. It tends to press down over an area. Well, look what happens through the remainder of the day here. We'll notice that high pressure is starting to move down, and when you have high and low pressure areas, you end up with a gradient between them, which essentially just means a change, and high pressure will always try and escape towards that lower pressure area. So keep that in mind. We'll move forward now into Friday, tomorrow, where we see rainfall come through with that cold air pushing in. But again, I want to show you what's going on with today. So what we're looking at right here is called an axis, and that's going to be the edge of that big bump we saw. So that big high pressure bump, you'll notice it's sitting right alongside our coast. Now, what that does is it brings that gradient, so that change from high to low pressure right over those dotted lines. And I'll point out to you again, that low pressure zone with the cold front, it's coming in steadily and quickly. But when you have that gradient over that area, it actually lines things up so our winds respond. Now, looking at the winds here, we see these pretty defined offshore winds just right along the coast, and then things are still coming from the east, but just a little bit as we get here out into the more inland areas. And you'll notice those speeds are nearly 0 out over the inland areas too, but things are definitely a little more active along this area. So we had high pressure over the area, and that's what gave us more of that fog sticking down close to the ground. But now moving to our next image here, you'll notice it's totally empty out along the coast, and it's actually pushing off. That's because of the winds we just saw and the reorientation of that ridge, bringing some of those offshore winds to push all of what would be fog out over the coast away, but it's still stuck down over the valley and starting to rise, and that's why we have those gray skies over the valley. It's nice and sunny out by the coast. Now, we see that low pressure coming in pretty soon here, and that's going to bring us rainfall for tomorrow. You'll see temps go down a little bit too, and it looks like we could see a little more active of a week next week too. For the Umpqua Basin, it's the same deal, of course. Rainfall tomorrow. Then on Christmas, there's mostly cloudy conditions, but as we get into the mountains, Christmas could potentially see some rainfall, maybe some rain and snow. Rain and snow starts up tomorrow out in the mountains, and we get down into the 30s starting Saturday. For the Willamette Valley, it's the same deal, 51 degrees. For today, it looks like we will see maybe some sunshine, but then 31 degrees between Sunday and Monday. Frost for Christmas.
So I've been meaning to ask you all morning, because you talked about how today was going to be so much like yesterday, if we were going to get some of that blue skies. Already, though, on the cameras, it looks like we are.
Certainly out on the coast and down towards the Thurston area, I've noticed they get a lot more of those as well. So
even a little in the distance there in Eugene.
Good call.
Not bad, right? Yeah, we got head on a swivel. Thanks a lot, Cam.